The best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. The more you learn, the more you will earn. Now, this, of course, is a famous quote from Warren Buffett. And overall, when it comes to financial literacy at an individual level, it is really the effectiveness and the grasp of financial systems, skills, budgeting, savings, debt management, retirement planning, investing, entrepreneurship. That encompasses financial literacy. And why is this so important to you? Now, overall, looking at our 50 states, most of them do not have a formalized financial literacy program, which means most people are coming out of high school with zero financial literacy, and they are kind of learning as they go, learning off TikTok, learning off YouTube, a lot of different avenues if they want any financial literacy. And a majority of people do learn from their parents. So unfortunately, if your parents have bad financial habits, most of those, statistically speaking, do carry over to their children on how they view credit, how they manage debt, things like that is all going to be carried over. Now, financial literacy will also equip you to make more informed decisions, greater monetary stability, less stress, higher quality of life, and generally overall more happy and more educated on financial decisions. This will give you the power to take control of your finances and really navigate any challenges, opportunities that you have, especially when it comes to the investing side that will ever arise. So what are the key components that really does break down that financial literacy program? The first one is the budgeting and expense management. This is probably one of my biggest absolute favorites. You know, I always talk about budgeting, but when it comes to budgeting, it seems like this is really the biggest miss. Is a lot of people are living outside of their means because they've never been taught anything different. Effective budgeting makes sure that your income does not exceed your expenses and there is money that is going in there. So the inflows do match or are lower than the outflows. This can be really set by realistic goals, short-term goals when it comes to finances, long-term goals, and making sure you're monitoring all of your spending habits and adjusting as needed. Now, of course, with the majority of the budgeting programs, they are a little bit tedious to set up, but I promise you guys from experience, once you get those budgeting programs set up, once you get all the data in there, majority of those needs categories do stay kind of the stagnant, where your rent might be the same, your car payment is the same, your insurance is the same. A lot of those, once you have in there, the big thing that you're looking at is kind of the variable expenses that can kind of change to month, but making sure again that you have a budget written down or on an app that you know exactly how it is with your spending plan. Now, second one we look at is savings and investing. Now, there is a portion of your income that you have to dedicate into the saving and investing bucket. Now, this means overall paying yourself first. We focused on this in a couple different videos. Paying yourself first is not only going to really set the guidelines of what you have when it comes to the budgeting aspect, but it's also going to give you the ability to, number one, have an emergency fund, and then number two, of course, invest some of the money into something that it needs to be in. Now, overall, very basic, getting that $1,000 first for that starter emergency fund, then getting into really the debt repayment strategy is what you're looking to do here. The emergency fund has to be the really non-negotiable within life, meaning that you put $1,000 set aside. Now, I know that is not the 3 to 6 months that we traditionally see with an emergency fund, but overall, it is starting to get into the habit and building kind of the behaviors around building up that savings. Third one we look at is debt management. This, of course, is huge. Knowing the impact of your credit card or your credit score, knowing the impact of interest rates, knowing you're kind of familiarizing yourself with debt strategy, how exactly you're going to pay it off. Now, personally, when they look at good debt, when they look at bad debt, but when I ask the question, how do you plan to pay off your debt? It is usually crickets. It is usually question marks. It is usually, what do you mean pay back the debt? This is a huge thing, guys, that we really have to focus on. The debt management also goes with the debt repayment strategy on how you're going to pay this off. Could be the debt snowball, could be the debt avalanche. Regardless of the methodology, you have to have a plan or the debt is never going to go away. I promise you, I see it all the time that debt is literally going to stay there forever for a majority of people because they have no repayment strategy and they're only paying the minimum while they're accumulating more debt and at a much, much faster pace. Next one we look at is the retirement planning. This is one, the younger you do it, the better you are. That is it. The magic in the mathematics when it comes to compounding interest, the younger that you're putting money into pension plans, 401ks, investment accounts, even putting money in HSA if you can invest it, is going to be a casualty or result of compounding interest, which means if you start at 18 putting 15% of your salary away, you go through your entire life putting 15% of your salary. When you look at your working years, and we're talking probably 40 plus years for a majority of Americans, if you're putting 15% and then working for those 40 years, chances are you are going to have an enormous nest egg when it comes to retirement, as long as you're sticking with that 15%. And of course, financial literacy does give you the ability to really go through, educate yourself, know exactly what you're investing in, what is going to be the impact. Because I really think if this is something, let's say 16, 17, 18, so high school students, we're really exposed to on a big picture scale on the impact. There's going to be a bulk of the majority, I feel, that is going to know the importance of 401ks, that is going to know the importance of investing at a young age, short of going on Robinhood and kind of playing around with stocks. And I honestly do not agree with that, because I think it's very, very deceiving with individual stocks and kind of playing the game of putting money in, losing money, taking money out. It really doesn't work. Then we get into insurance and risk management. For a majority of younger individuals, they are on their parents' insurance to a certain point, but really getting insurance, so getting even a whole life policy or even like a term life policy, property insurance, even renter's insurance. If you have an apartment, getting renter's insurance can keep you from going straight into debt and going completely underwater if something happens. But having health insurance, life insurance, auto insurance, property insurance, and other things that can really protect the wealth that you're creating and protect the income that you have. I know a lot of individuals that are on, that let's say go on disability, or they're hurt on the job where they do not have a paycheck, or the paycheck is kind of minimalized. If they're getting 50% or 70% of the paycheck, they can't cut it. They are literally drowning in debt so fast because they don't have anything to supplement what they have in there. And the final one we look at is understanding your financial products and the concepts. This is another part where a lot of individuals that come to see me for financial counseling, we go over the education aspect. That is the huge, huge focus for me. When you look at the educational aspect, really understanding financial products and why you have them. When it comes to, a checking account, when it comes to a savings, when it comes to a credit card, a loan, what are the terms? What are the rates? What are the interests? What exactly do you have to pay back? Also looking at financial concepts such as compounding interest. What is inflation, taxation? How can you kind of curb those either through investing or a couple different strategies? And again, financial literacy is something that is not taught in its entirety, but we are slowly getting there. It is really the time that we're seeing a lot of different change when it comes to programs, why financial literacy is important. It is really building the future. I feel it is again, one of the absolute biggest things that are overlooked in our society today, is giving kids and equipping them with the proper financial education when it comes to, the literacy and the importance of changing the rest of their life. If you have a society and you're building a society that is just going to be in debt, as we sit on over $1 trillion of credit card debt, guys, the credit card companies are making an absolute killing off of everyone who's working their 9 to 5. And again, the way that I see it and the way that I viewed it, that was the absolute game changer when it comes to the money mindset, is how many hours do you have to work when it comes in relationship to the interest that you do have to pay. This, again, very, very big eye-opening for me, is looking at, hey, in a course of a month, I have to work a equivalent of, 32 hours just to cover the interest on the items that I have, which means I'm spending almost one solid week every single month paying just the interest that is going to absolutely nothing. So guys, so that is going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.